Yeah, so I was one of the level designers on Tony Hawk and some Pixar games, as was mentioned. And what I would like to talk to you about today is sort of something, a really cool solution that we stumbled on that I kind of want to show both sides of the equation, what it looks like when the two cool technologies come together. So full page gaming is a combination of Unity and Meteor. So this room knows Meteor. How many know what Unity is or have heard of it? Okay, so, oh, awesome, like 80%. So Unity is a 3D engine and tool set for building games. And the idea is sort of write once, deploy many. So you can send it to iOS native, PlayStation 3, Wii, and one of the build targets is a web, they call it the web player. And so basically your gamers would install a Unity plugin and then play your game, and it handles the rendering to canvas and sound management and things like that. So to us, it was sort of the real-time goodness of Unity plus the near real-time reactivity of Meteor, and it ended up resulting in something really interesting. So first, some administrivia, I have to tell you. The game and the technology you're going to see were developed under a contract with DARPA, and the game is really unique and the parameters are really interesting. It's basically a crowdsource, a hard problem kind of a game. So if you want to learn more, Google crowdsourced formal verification. We've got some info on DARPA and Wired and The Escapist and a couple other places. And of course, I'm speaking only for myself. So with that, who are we? The quick sales pitch, we're Void Alpha, a game studio. We're over here in Emeryville, we're local. And our specialty is working with folks who are going from sort of concept to initial execution. We do a mix of our own games and some service, game services. So if you know anyone who's interested, we love working with people with fresh new ideas who are really excited but don't know how to get started. So give us a shout. So what is full-page gaming? It's a term that I just came up with, but really it's the chocolate and peanut butter of web gaming. So if you've played web games and HTML5 games, right, there's sort of a ceiling that you hit pretty quickly in terms of technology. Basically, the browser is not a renderer. It's not a 60 frames per second, 3D, texture-mapped, fogged, particle effect, multiple sound effects. If you've ever tried to play more than one sound effect, synchronized in a web page, that's kind of non-trivial. Unity handles sort of all of that for you. And then, of course, Meteor gives you the near real-time stuff. And I don't know of anyone else who's joined these two. A good example to show you kind of the value of this is imagine a real-time racing game, and we've got all these Formula One cars ripping around the track with physics and squealing tires and smoke effects. And when somebody passes someone else, Unity sends that event off, and then Meteor just handles it. And reactively, we see a leaderboard do a CSS animation, and we know my lap time compared to yours, and the time to beat and stuff like that. And so there's all these features that you can do and add to your game that nobody, I think, is looking at. Another good example would be if you're into like online RPGs and you have a trade house and you have a bunch of trades that are out and somebody buys your sword and Meteor tells you. There are all these sort of long operations that happen in games these days that the Meteor reactivity is actually really good at. So. And then there's other things like Meteor handles the login integration and social media stuff that when you try to put that into a game, you kind of have to reinvent the wheel every single time. So it's a real accelerator for some of these ancillary features. So the game that we built is called Stormbound, and it's a puzzle game with a twist. And the twist is that as you play the puzzle game, your answers to each level are sent off to the server and contribute to solving a very hard math problem. Again, the discussion of it is out of scope, but that results in some really interesting design challenges. So unlike sort of basic puzzle games, usually you're racing against a timer or a particular configuration that you have to get to, like Sudoku, we actually don't know if your answer is right or not until we look at it more closely. And so we want both the real-time sexiness of particles and sounds and all that stuff, and that's what we get from Unity. But we also have some short and intermediate and long-term operations. So for example, you may send us an answer, and we don't know for a while whether it's any good. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a little bit dark. I apologize. So we may not know for minutes or days whether your answer is the right answer. So imagine if you finished a Sudoku and you said, I think, and you know, you had to wait for someone to grade it. So Meteor gives us a hook to say, okay, I finished grading your paper, you get some points. And so I'm going to demonstrate that shortly. And then additionally, sometimes your answer is right, and then it turns wrong. And that, I've never seen that in a game. It's like I killed the dragon, and then I didn't, you know. So there's some really hard game design problems that we had to tackle. And the end result is this is kind of what it looks like, but rather than just show you a screenshot, that's my plan B in case it doesn't work. But instead, let's just actually go play it. Oh, that's right. I forgot to plug in the, there we go. Okay, sorry, thank you. All right, cool. Oh, actually, so I brought up Unity just so that you guys could see a little bit. This is sort of the Unity development environment, and so I can click play, and this is actually some cool brand new stuff. Let's see if, there we go. So, you know, as I go down, I get all the, you know, animation and particles of different different types. They're shaders and animations and so on. So the idea is you come in here, and this is where you manage your project and so on, just so you have a concept of what that is. Here's the game. This is our production server. Oh, sweet. Looks like somebody put up a failed answer. So here is the Unity game, this rectangle here, embedded in a Meteor page, right? So there's a Meteor client wrapped around this Unity plugin. And what I'm going to demonstrate here quickly is sort of information coming out of Unity to the Meteor client and up to the server and back, and then the other way, where the Meteor client is driving the Unity client. So down here on the rest of the page, we have information about my character, his score, my level, and then this in the middle is sort of the status of my puzzles. So every time I solve a puzzle, I get credit for it. So you can see in this area, Mines 1, I've solved 64 puzzles, and then 47 in Mines 2, et cetera. But particularly, I want you to look at the fact that this Mines 1 is kind of grayed out a little bit, which shows that I have no sort of pending actions on it. So I'm going to go into the mining crater, and I'm going to play a game in Mines 1, and we'll see if it loads up a puzzle here. There we go. So this is what the game sort of looks like, and I get, you know, the multi sound effects and particles and right, all that stuff that I was talking about. Can kind of use all these tools. It's way out of scope for me to explain what all this is. There's tutorials. Go play it. Yes. All right. So I'm going to put some solution in. So I'm going to answer this puzzle with one answer, and actually I can keep answering. But anyway, so what I want you to watch is that when I create an answer in the game, it actually sends that answer to the Meteor client, which goes up to the server. And if I got it right, then down here you'll see Mines 1 reactively changes to green, telling me that my answer was actually good enough for me to get some points. So I collect experience points, and now my character gets a little bit stronger. And so I can click on the call to action, and then again, we update my player's score, and then this field over here. You guys know reactivity. But that's really cool. I mean, to me, because I'm a geek, right? So that was information coming from Unity out into the client. Now I want to show you it going the other way. Down here we have our tutorials tree. It's kind of like a skill tree if you're into RPGs, you know, I want to, you know, or Civilization or any of those types of games. And so as you level up and learn more, you kind of learn these tutorials and unlock them, and they're also styled reactively. So the fact that these are all sort of surrounded by black means that I've finished them. If they're locked, then they're red, and so on. So we're definitely doing a lot of CSS styling. But what I can do is click on one. If I want to review it, I can click on the above pattern here, and the page will scroll up for me and take me back to the game and load that tutorial. So now the Meteor client is driving Unity, and so we saw information coming out, information going in. So that's a very quick demo. Any questions so far? Oh, we're going to get to them at the end, actually. So with that, so what does it look like? So I'll tell you up front, this isn't rocket surgery, what we did. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, the pieces are there. What we had to spend a lot of our time on was solving the edge cases. So it's MVC-ish, and the Unity player is the view. It's just presenting data and the puzzle for you and kind of being told what to show by the Meteor client. The Meteor client is really the controller, and the stuff on the server is the model. And that's actually different than most games. Usually the game is the controller because it's the final, you know, arbiter of what you're seeing, what you're doing, and so on. And that inversion created a few hiccups that we had to iron out. Sorry, before I go into that, there are two files that we're going to go into a little bit in more detail. Unity Communicator, which is the Meteor piece that talks into Unity, and the client bridge, which talks out. Those are the names. I wish I could change them, but they are what they are, right? So, okay. So Unity Communicator talks into Meteor. Talks into Unity. Thus the name, right? So its major job is it's got a handle to the Unity plugin, right? So it knows where to send its messages. It coordinates with sort of external pieces that Unity doesn't know anything about, like session variables and the Meteor server. It does not know. Unity does not know how to talk to the Meteor server, so it does that facilitation. It also keeps track of the plugin itself, because Unity takes a while to load. I already had it loaded, but that can take a few seconds to a minute if it's the first time you loaded the page. And if it's trying to start a tutorial when the plugin's not there, we have to queue it up, and so it kind of deals with some of that stuff. It deals with the integration with the template going away. There's actually a few cases where we have to hide Unity to show some other things. And so again, it deals with the coordination of that Unity player going away for short periods. And it makes available to, to others things like handle messages. So handle messages is the message queue for Unity, basically, to send out its results and so on. And that actually caused a problem where the player is playing a level and then Meteor is coming back and saying, by the way, your answer was wrong, and meanwhile the client page is trying to say, but I have another answer for you for that same level. So the fact that it's kind of being bombarded was something we had to kind of tease apart. And that's fun. Also, this is something that we found a lot of value in, is log stuff to the server. When clients started, or players started playing, and they were, we had all console logs all throughout our code. Okay, newbie mistake maybe. And so what we did is we created a Meteor call called debug log, and that allowed us to sit on the server and watch. No matter how many people were playing, we could see, oh, this guy just opened up that tutorial, and that person just started a level. So you could see what, how they got to where they were and things like that. So create a Meteor call that lets you log to the server. And then it also does high-level game flow control. And this is what I mean by it being the controller. If you're on the main menu, then there are certain actions that are allowed and certain ones that aren't. And when you're in a puzzle and you have sort of the dirty bit set on that puzzle, I have some work started but I'm not finished, then you don't want the player to be pulled out of that level by a tutorial that wants to start. And so again, this is where it kind of really is a controller. And then it also handles the answers and the game-specific outbound stuff. And one of the things we had to do there was implement some caching, because it's possible to make many answers very quickly. You can make 10 or 20 answers to one puzzle in a matter of 2 seconds. And when we had a number of clients doing that at the same time, it was really slamming the Meteor server. So we kind of batched them up, and that smoothed out a little bit of the traffic. So from Client Bridge going out to Meteor, its major job is, it has a handle to the browser that contains it. It sends out queries. We can't send all of the information about the game world into Unity at once. So if I start on the main menu and I say, I want to play a game in this area, that's when Unity says, I need information about that area, right? And Meteor sends it. Of course, my answers to each puzzle have to go out. There's also some last-minute deconfliction. I kind of lied a little before when I said if I'm in the middle of one level and the web page says, no, start this tutorial, it's actually the game that knows whether the dirty bit is set on that particular puzzle. So it does some last-minute deconfliction in a few cases. And then it makes available its message queue so that the web page can talk to it. And of course, all logs inside of Unity go to the client bridge so that they can go to the Meteor client and can end up on the Meteor server. So anything that gets logged, even all the way down in the game, shows up on the server. So we can watch and see when people start a level, what they're doing in the level, and so on, which was really beneficial for us. So some helpful stuff. If you're not already using sort of deploy scripts, I know it's just sort of like mature programming, you know, but in particular, Meteor doesn't know about the Unity file type, and so people were reporting bugs that we had fixed because we didn't know that Meteor was serving an old Unity file. So we implemented a cache buster. It basically puts a timestamp on the file. We had to reinstall fibers because the production, the staging, and the local servers had different star nixes installed, and we put a version number so we could know what people were reporting. Don't log to the client. Again, put it all up on the server so that you can see what's going on from a sort of single view. For sufficiently small values of never, we do put like a touch is local, and then your local machine is not getting completely spammed, but that's a personal choice. And if you're not using log.debug, log.error, log.warn to get colors and cool stuff, then do so. You know, again, we're learning this stuff, and maybe that's obvious, but if anyone else doesn't know. Again, reuse your Meteor logging. So once you have that Meteor call to send debug stuff up to the server, let your Unity game use that as well. And the way we did that is when a Unity entity starts up, you have an on-enable callback, and you can create a log callback handler. So basically what we did is that handle log function multiplexes all logging inside of Unity and sends a copy up to the server. So if you're developing games, often you need to know the time between one thing starting and another and so on, and you need that granularity of logging. So there's a trick in Unity you can do. So why Meteor was awesome for us. So here's our gifts to our hosts. No more SQL. We hit a point where we needed to implement levels that were disabled or locked and didn't know that up front, so the spec changed. And being able to add a couple of fields, of course, is no problem, and it didn't break our schema and our queries and all that stuff, so that was helpful. Of course, it's very, very easy to get started and make changes. A sort of real example is as I said, we sort of log everything that players do, and so that we have all kinds of data on how long you're on the site and all the usual metric-y kind of things. And we were experiencing a problem where people didn't know sort of what levels to play and how long to play and stuff. So we put a quest system in that said, go into this area and do 20 levels. And if you do, we'll give you 500 more experience points. And we could do that, and I think we took 3 days debugged and out on production. Player collaboration, because Meteor knows what you've contributed and you've contributed. One of the key features of the games is I can come in and see that Tim's answer, he thought it was good, but a little bit later we discovered it was not a good answer. I can come in and fix it, and we both get points. So there's message out to all the game designers out there. You can use this to build collaborative features into your games. Bundling, having that all taken care of for us was very handy. And then actually we did end up rolling our own analytics dashboard on top of the collection. Since we knew what players did and when, we actually created our own metrics dashboard on top of it, which was very fun. And similarly, we could use the login handlers to integrate with another server that we had to deal with. So again, if you're in the games world, these are things that are really a pain to implement. And Meteor gives you a lot of hooks for all this stuff. So wrapping up, potential future work. We'd be interested in releasing it if anyone is interested in having this as a package. I'd like to hear that there's interest before we do it. And also I'd like to know what other package authors do in terms of documentation and hardening. It's kind of specific to our game right now. Also, it would be nice if Unity could talk directly to the Meteor server instead of having to go through a coffee stirrer of bits, and have an actual DDP client inside of Unity. And again, the cache busting is a little bit pathological. It just kind of says, here, you need a new file, even if that wasn't the case. So that's OK. Closing, that's the URL if you actually want to play it. I guarantee it's unlike anything you've ever played before. That's as far as I'll go with it. And I think I have a minute, but I guess I'll open it up for questions. Wow. Thank you.
Questions?
Come on, anything at all. Maybe not anything. Oops.
Unity works with iOS. How much extra work would you need to make this whole thing work with iOS? Will you need a DDP client for Unity to work in iOS?
This game specifically you're asking for?
Or
Oh, thank you, yes.
Unity and Meteor in iOS.
So the question is, how much work would it take to get Unity and Meteor into a native iOS app, basically? Do you have any my Meteor experts here as well, so do you have any comments on that, Lane, that I can echo back?
Well, once Meteor or Unity directly talks to Meteor, buy the license for iOS.
Yeah, okay, so he waved right over the question. Basically, when we did look into the problem of getting Unity to talk directly to Meteor, we want a socket connection, and we didn't see a way to get iOS's web view to do socket connections. And that may be because we haven't found it yet, so if somebody out there knows, let us know. And I don't know what would be involved in porting the rest of all of the DDP client into Objective-C or whatever. It sounds pretty large. I mean, were you looking for an order of magnitude answer or something?
No, nothing specific, just what was
Yeah.
involved. So you need a DD client.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. And I think I saw one over here. Yes.
How did you guys score DARPA funding?
How did we score DARPA funding? There's a website called FedBizOps, and you can look for projects that are out there. And this one was kind of interesting, so we applied. Yeah. How was the problem phrased or what we signed up for? You can set watchers on that site. And there are a number of government funding sites, and you put in a query. So I put video games, and this one came up. Is that what you're kind of looking for? Yeah. We can talk after about the whole application process, but a lot of scope for this. Yeah. Anything else? See? I knew it. Should I just play some more? No. Okay, so.
Yeah.
Over to you. All right, thank you all.